Morehaven City Council regular meeting to order for March 6th, 6 o'clock at City Hall. Roll call: Alicia.
Here.
Brad Smith.
Here.
Clay's here. Ashley.
Here.
Steve.
Here.
Larry.
Here.
And 3 people in the audience. If please stand this time for the invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for this day you've given each and every one of us, Lord. We just ask that you watch over and guide us, Lord, as we conduct business for this city, Lord. We just give you all the praise and the glory. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Additions, item 3, additions, deletions, corrections to the agenda.
Yes, I have an item there in front of you. This motion earlier, anything I'd like to, we had that as 5A.
Okay. That's this,
That one.
okay. Motion.
Motion.
Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Brad Smith,
Second.
second by Alicia to add to 5A, the award of All County National Pavement Solutions. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Discuss and or approve following meeting minutes, March the 3rd, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alicia, seconded by Brad to approve the following meeting minutes, March the 3rd of 2026. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, approval of resolution number 2026-05, authorizing the award of FDOT grant agreements number 541528, 541529, and 451530-1-5401 to Ajax Paving of Florida in the amount of $114,080.64. Damn.
$80.
$114,080.64.
There you go.
Gotta take my time. I can get it.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Morehaven awarding FDOT SCOP grant projects 451528, 451529, and 45130 to Ajax Paving Industries of Florida LLC in the amount of $114,080.64 as the lowest responsible bidder to the ITB closing on March 4, 2026, authorizing the mayor to execute the contract, providing an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alicia to approve. Question. Well, wait, I gotta have a second first.
Go ahead and get your second.
All right.
Discussion.
Second by Brad. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Decker.
In that paving, you have, I think we discussed this before, and maybe it's not gonna be the way it reads in there, but it reads on Avenue M from 5th Street to 8th Street.
That's the way it reads, but it's not, that section that was previously done is not going to be redone.
Okay, just wanted to check, because I know we spoke about it
Yeah,
before.
that was in the description of the project. And they went down to that. These are 3 small streets around the school that we applied for this several years ago. And it struggled on and on and on, waiting for FDOT to move the project. It's similar to the counties have had same problems with a lot of their own projects to that. So we finally got, and this, believe it or not, these three small streets we have spent about $40,000 in design services to an engineer to get FDOT to approve this. So it's been a long.
That's the process that went through to get done.
To get it done. So, so like I said, we did have the bid, close on March 4th. We had, bid from Ajax in the amount of $114,080.64. CWR, 166,924.75. And Weekly Asphalt at 139.49. So Ajax would be the lowest responsive there. So hopefully we'll finally put these projects to rest.
Okay, thank you, Larry.
All right, anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 5A, discuss and or approve award to All County National Pavement Solutions in the amount of $186,275 for the base bid for option 1 and additional $30,810. And for option 2, an additional $32,900 for the potential total of $249,985 for street resurfacing project. Larry?
We went out for quotes on resurfacing those three streets that we talked about before. We did finally get some quotes. We got one back from All County National Pavement. And you also got a quote for Ajax. If you total up All County with the options, it comes out to about $249.85. If you, Ajax, their total bid was about $259,927.20, so they're very close. But all the attached there are the quotes that they provided. Now, normally, we generally try to see at least 3 quotes for these type of projects. I did try to get one from Weekly Asphalt. They did not respond. I guess after they were here for the bid opening on the other project, they didn't respond, didn't want to work on it. But and then also from that, the contractor CWR contracting, which is they're working on the project at 178 there. But they will not provide a quote either. So at this point in time, we want to go ahead and move forward with that, with just receiving 2 quotes. They're both fairly competitive, on amounts. I know Ajax has done a lot of work in the county. Also did check for All County National Pavement Solutions. They have done a lot of road repair work in Belle Glade. And I talked to them today and they said that they had no issues with their work either. So that's why I just kind of see if we want to move ahead at this point.
Mr. Tiz, were these the next streets that were on our list of priority? I know we made that list of a priority streets that need to be done first. Not off the top of my head, do I remember what streets were?
I think these were all on there, on that, all of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th streets were on that general list. In the higher ranking ones, I can't actually say that,
It's gonna be more.
number 2, 1, 2, or 3, but they were all, these streets were all on that list we started developing over a period of time. So
This 3rd and 5th Street was the one we discussed in here
Yes.
about a month ago.
I think Alicia wasn't here for that meeting, whenever y'all discussed those ones.
Okay. My apologies. I just want to try to make sure that we're getting whatever road is worth that before we hit roads that can last.
we're on 5th Street all the way across town.
Right.
And then 3rd, we're doing the section of 3rd from
On the bridge south.
Yes.
There we are.
Yeah, I see that.
JR.
First Baptist, yeah.
Okay. Maybe we should just revisit that. I mean, they all need to be done, don't get me wrong, but
I would say at this point in time, one of the critical areas, maybe the next, we look at it is Avenue H.
yeah, I don't know.
It's in pretty bad shape. Behind that, Denko is doing sewer work, so they're gonna get some fresh pavement there. So
Right.
that, I would say if we, after this, maybe the next group, we want to make a couple, maybe a couple of different ones.
Right.
That's just my opinion. I
I
guess.
just want to make sure that these were, the top of the list.
And third is because you're coming into the city there and see.
Right.
You have, hopefully have a nice walk down the street. And, again, this is a road resurfacing, so it's not road reconstruction, but at least it's nice, you can get some fresh,
Other than that,
get fresh asphalt.
yes, sir.
So you're recommending which one?
I put all national because it's slightly less than Ajax, but if anybody, to me, there's minimal difference.
If Ajax is already here doing the other project, would it be more convenient and possibly in the long run save us money on? No,
Nonetheless, they adjusted their
right,
bid
fair bit.
at this point. It is what it is.
Okay.
Are either of them a Glades County business?
I know Ajax is, because I said they're doing
Mhm.
several of their streets, their roads.
Because don't we give in our bid, the preferential reduction? I want to say 5% if it's a Glades County business, but it's not, is it?
Which one?
Are they based in Blake?
Not
No,
based
neither
in
one
Glades,
of them,
yeah.
no.
No, okay, so that's not. a
There's your-
Local business, yeah. Ajax is out of Fort Myers area, or
Yeah.
North Venice area, and all counties is out of Palm Beach County.
I'd
So-
like to move forward with these as soon as possible. I mean, there's no construction going on. There's no school being torn down, these streets.
So it's 10,000 difference.
Yeah.
So we need a motion.
Yeah, hold on a minute. We need a motion.
Motion to award All County National Pavement Solutions in a total of $249,985.
Second,
Motion by Alicia, seconded by Mark to award paving contract to All County National Pavement Management Solutions. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Item 6, report of officers.
Well, the Florida legislature ended their session on Friday, the 13th. They have not enacted a budget yet, and they have not did anything with property taxes. They're supposed to go back and, I think the governor's going to call them back in a special session after first week of April to, let's say, first of all, that do the budget and also look at redistricting within the state. And then, like I said, so I guess we'll be hearing more from that process, but like I said, but this, again, it's a late session. But like I said, it is without that work being done. As far as some other things, I have not heard any more on broadband or that type of thing. I do know that Xfinity and Comcast is extending their permits for the work on the poles. They originally were supposed to be completed in March. I believe they've extended the permits. I don't know what the new date is yet. I think that's going on. And then as far as with Connexon, like I said, they've indicated they've been awarded some money under that BEAD program, but they do not have the final contract out of the state yet also. It's well past the deadline when they were supposed to get them, but they haven't really heard anything back further on that. And I think that's it. Unless someone has anything to move.
Is there anything? All right. Thank you, Larry. Mr. Bruin.
This is regarding the sewer, but I'm just giving you a heads up. I asked Melissa to hold purchasing the one what's that?
It's
A pump,
on-
portable pump, yeah,
Submersible.
because there is an issue with what was the lowest responsive bid. And I think the board needs to reevaluate and determine whether or not what you bid on was actually the lowest responsive bid. Because if you recall, the engineer represented that he didn't have them with him, but there were bids that were higher. But that's not correct. There was actually a bid that was lower. Now, is it on par? Well, that's for the board to decide, but I wanted y'all to have the awareness that if you decide to reevaluate it, then you could change that up. So I know Melissa was getting ready to order it and I told her to hold off.
Well, we have issued the purchase orders, but we haven't held
Yeah.
up on that.
Yeah, the other one was no problem, but this particular one is like a approximately $30,000 difference. There are some differences. But the philosophy of we need to get this one because otherwise we have to send grant money back is not necessarily the legal, my opinion, the legal way to go about it. If you guys decide that the higher priced pump is the better on par, so to speak, requirement, that's fine. But because there was a discrepancy in what information was given to the board, I pulled that. So I took the liberty of just telling her to hold off on that when I talked to her earlier today, and we'll make that an agenda item for next week. The only other thing I have is we did have our code enforcement hearing a week ago yesterday, and we were successful. The judge gave the person until April 13th to completely clean the property from all that was out there. And if she doesn't, then there's going to be a daily fine accruing. So that's already, the judge has already signed the order. I think you got it today, right? So we'll see how that goes. That's it.
Okay. Did you hear any more on your little property on the other side of town? About the railroad track?
For the bigger piece of property that that's owned by Loose Properties or Mr. Alvarez, I've encouraged him to get, even though it's not his, the trailers are his, the tractor trailers were his, but the fire truck and the boat are not. I've asked him to just go ahead and bite the bullet and get those off of there. Because especially if he's looking to try to sell the property, it's gonna need to be cleaned because then we have to work on the underground contamination issue. As far as the property next door, unfortunately, no. I know the guy's trying to appeal on the eviction case from the case where he sued the city that got dismissed, so. But it's not clear to answer your question. So I told Colleen, I had a conversation with her when before court. She needed to process these a little bit better, more promptly. She needs to have a better paper trail. Kind of like no more Mr. Nice Guy, just get it done one way or another and get the case into the system. Because until the case goes into the system, I can't do anything with it. So I'll, work with Mr. Tibbs on that as well. So to answer your question now.
We got a mess back there.
Yeah, I know.
There
And
is no easy fix to that.
no, and we're, it's
Just what we said was gonna happen is what happened. Okay, does anybody got anything for Steve? All right, Steve, thank you. Ashley,
I don't have anything unless anybody has something for me.
no good? All right. Larry, you gonna do Brad's part tonight or is he?
I'm not aware of any issues that we have. Obviously, we had some issues last night. We had a couple issues this morning. But other than that, I don't know where it be.
I think we got the right man on the job, so I think he can fix most of it. So, all right. Item 7, approval of the bills in the amount of $56,219.23. Motion by Leisha, seconded by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 8, citizen comments, general concerns. Go ahead, Jay.
Hello, Council, Jacob Gardner, 442 Avenue L. Before I get started, I just wanted to say that you awarded one contract to Ajax and the other one to the other one. Sometimes they put a fee to deliver, a transportation fee to deliver their equipment. I don't know if it's $10,000, but it might be checked worth it. And if they're in town, they don't have to leave town and bring the equipment back. They get a break on that and go with Ajax. Setup fee or what is it called? Mobilization fee. But and one other thing too, is Mr. Decker, the streets that we chose, I believe in the past, we talked about any of them that had the culverts. They weren't gonna replace the culverts in the bid, but if there were culverts that we could replace, because they've been under those roads forever and are clogged, I think you guys discussed that at one time. I just wanted to.
Yeah, we did, you're right.
Okay, I don't know the roads you chose if they have culverts on it, but, all right, I wanted to start now in 3 minutes, Mr. Mayor, Council. I was here tonight, Mr. Mayor, you listen to the same radio station that I do every morning, and you've listened to, back and forth since last week about the code enforcement, and you made the statement that, you were a grown man and you didn't want to have to be discussing these code enforcement violations in 6 months. And as the mayor, you don't deserve to wait 6 days to get answers on these. You know shouldn't have to wait 6 months. And I'm sure that some of these things that I'm discussing, hopefully when you guys do your reports, you're going to bring them up also. But with that being said, I obtained a code enforcement list today, and the back and forth discussion through here and coming across the radio is code enforcement. So you think there'd be a little more preparation in this code enforcement list. I challenge you to go down any of these streets that are named on here and you will find multiple code violations. It's time to, just like what you said, it's time to move forward and eliminate these code violations. We complained for years that a yellow pickup truck sat where the new school is now fully junked. We always complained about it. Well, instead of putting it in the truck now, they're just putting it in their front yards throughout town. Now, I understand, I can see here where you've got a court date and hopefully she'll clean that place up. But the previous Chalanika, you all sat on the buggy and that's when that problem started. It's been absolutely a whole year. You shouldn't have to wait that long. And in closing with that radio comments, in the past, other communities around the lake, we'd laugh and giggle about what they were going through. And I believe now if they're listening, they're laughing and giggling at what we're going through. And I don't want to see that going any farther. And you're aware of what I'm speaking of. You listen to it every day. So I thank you for the time. I hope you guys discuss some of this code enforcement when you give your reports. Fuel is very expensive now, and code enforcement's got to start making their money driving that car up and down the road every single day. We'll clean the city up is my request. Thank you.
I want to make a comment there too, that, yeah, we've heard particularly lately on the radio code enforcement issues that very, obviously you're the loudest, so you know on there, but if you listen to every place that has problems with code enforcement too, you hear Clewiston, you hear LaBelle, you hear Henry County, you hear Belle Glade, you hear Pahokee, they all have code enforcement issues. And Belle Glade's got 4 full-time code enforcement officers, but it's that issue. It's always going to be, this group says you're doing too much, this group says you're doing too little. And so in reality, gotta be somewhere in the middle. Obviously, yeah, we've got to speed up our process. We've been trying to clear a lot of stuff without a lot of confrontation, but like I said, that takes you a little longer to do it, but without confrontation, but some of the, we obviously probably have to move a little on things, on those, but I can tell you, I worked for 5 cities, and I can tell you, code enforcement has been an issue in every city. It's that same thing. You're doing too much, you're doing too little. And you got this group want that and that group. So it's a contentious area wherever you go. And we're not unique. Maybe obviously we do need improvement. I'm not arguing that, but like I said, we'll try to do a little better. But like I said, it is an ongoing issue.
Rules and regulations, they take out the confrontation. And if there's a confrontation, that's when the sheriff's department steps in and goes with our code enforcement officer. And I do recall, Mr. Tibbs, one of the strong points for hiring you was because you were so involved with code enforcement in the city of Belgrade. You wrote a couple of grants to get an extra code enforcement officer. So I'm here just to make the code enforcement officer that you have employed here start doing their job.
You want to say something?
Me?
Yeah.
You guys have questions for me? I'll answer them. I don't have anything.
Y'all have anything for her? Thank you, Jake. Mayor and council to give reports. Alicia?
I don't have anything. I just want to tell Joe and King, thank y'all so much for all y'all done for Kalnicka. Joe's out there with his big old hat. He was not gonna get sun on that head. And, I appreciate y'all. I know it's aggravating, and we really appreciate everybody, but Joe, I seen you a bunch, and King, I seen you quite often also, so thank y'all so much.
Okay. Mark, you got anything?
I'll say thank you to both those guys too. But, she's got 4 cars listed here. You can go down 1 block and see 3 cars. That's what I was gonna bring up tonight. There's just too many cars there sitting around with no plates. Nobody's doing anything with them. And the city should. We have to get rid of these junk cars that are sitting around. Plus the junky yards. So I got Cliff.
Brad?
Thanks again, guys. And, I was pretty much was gonna say pretty much what the citizen said, Jake. But yeah, we gotta do something with code enforcement. That's all I had.
The thing that bothers me the most about code enforcement, and Jake, I'm not gonna beat this horse tonight.
Yes, sir.
I think everyone in this room has kind of got to the point where it seems like we're just beating and beating and beating. And looking at the code enforcement list, it's getting better. What concerns me looking at it, and Mark's right, there's 4 cars, there's 3 fences, and then you got 1,
Some of the worst ones aren't even on here.
2, 3, 4.
I think
4 roosters or chickens, and that's just people just not caring is what that is more than anything. And and like Alicia says, I'm 100% sure that Colleen has left some stuff off this list because she's trying to handle it through the systems. As a council, we ought to look at this. In a way, this is just disrespectful to us.
Well, we talked about in the past having a workshop and sitting down and letting her know exactly what, how much of a bulldog we want her to be. And like Mr. Tibbs said, there's a fine line between doing too much and worry about the color of paint on the house or, a junkyard. I get that. I'm not trying to make people have yards like Mark because we're not all perfect. But I do understand that there is a fine line and we need to find that happy medium for everyone. And I think if we have a workshop like we've discussed before, and I've talked to Colleen privately and, she's like me, she's big hearted, we're all hometown people, get this done. I know you'll get it done. Well, people take advantage of that and I get that. So I feel like if we have a workshop with her, let's sit down, let's discuss exactly, like I said, how much of a bulldog we want her to be. And I think she will take that criticism well.
I agree.
Okay. Y'all want to set a date for,
I mean, for the next meeting or if she can make it. I don't know if she has vacation planned or whatever, but I think that'll kind of
so,
eliminate some of the,
let me, and I'm not against a workshop by no means, but I thought Larry, or, I'm sorry, can you be Steve tonight?
Sure.
I thought Steve had brought up a point about, I can't recall the whole conversation about having a workshop. Not that I'm against it. Do you remember what you?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really honestly need a workshop. She needs to stay on it. Like and I talked to her about this. Looking at the file on the case that I took to court, it left a lot to be desired because it's not papered properly. And she's been to enough classes now to know the procedure. What I would like to see, if there is a problem, put a notice of violation out there, period. And put the person on the clock, not talk to them, and then we do it after the fact. So, but I talked to her about this, so, and I said I'd, try to coordinate a little bit with Mr. Tips, because it's a very simple process. If they're a first offender, give them the notice. And obviously, if you could talk to the people and they'll do it, and you get it done within 30 days, because that's typically what your notice period is, great, and you're done. And we don't have to be hard nosed. And technically, they're a repeat violator. If it comes up again, now you have to see again if somebody's then taken advantage. They show their colors pretty quick, and that situation will rear up sooner than later. But you can't let it slide for months and not put anybody on the clock, because if they're not on the clock, my experience is, even with me, if I'm not on the clock, well, I'll do it tomorrow,
doesn't get done till.
Yeah, and it doesn't get done, and that's not cutting it. I don't like to single out at a public meeting specific properties, because I think that's not appropriate, and that could get into legal issues for me if and when I wind up in court. But put the notice of violation out there, and I had a problem. There was a thing about, oh, well, we changed our software and we lost all those forms, but in the statute gives you the form for the form. So all you got to do is open up the statute book and it gives you the form for a notice of violation, what needs to be in there. Because what I found was half of it was missing. So I'll try to, I don't want to get on her, not, I'll try to work with her to overview her work. But again, if, it doesn't make it into the system, then, that's part of the problem. So we just need to have a uniform system, numbering, starting with numbering, like you and I talked about, where's case 1, where's case 2, where's case 3, and then we'll go from there. Because I think you'll find a lot of times you don't necessarily go to court, but if you do go to court, people see that we're not messing around, and they're going to have to answer to the judge if they don't. So to me, it's just more just following the proper format. And a workshop's not going to really change that, because it is what it is.
Right.
So she just needs to toughen up
Mhm,
And I understand, you grew up,
mhm.
but at some point you just got to be uniform with how you approach it. And if somebody
Exactly.
shows you good faith, you can extend good faith back to them reasonably, but not to let things go for 6 months, 8 months, and then you put them on the clock. And
So
Right.
help me understand something. If so when she sees the violation,
notice a violation,
that starts the clock right then.
30 days. If
Okay.
not, we're going to go to court. So
So
you're
she just goes up
literally
there-
in court within 45,
I was gonna
because
say
the
60
judge
days.
gives a monthly. And I went back to the judge format because it really didn't make sense to go to a hearing officer for one case.
At a time.
I want to spend, we're gonna pay a hearing officer $150 an hour, whatever it was, 100 an hour, I don't even remember. To do something when I could do it for free,
Yeah.
So, now if we had, but we don't, because we're not a big city, but we had multiple cases that were constantly on rotation, then it might make sense to do that. But for one or two cases where we handle it internally, because we don't even pass it through the clerk, our clerk handles it internally. The judge is gracious enough to allow us to hear, that he hears our case, that type of thing. So, but yeah, you see a violation, you can try to talk to the person, but if it's not that big of a deal, if it's a couple of things, sure. Do you need to be hard nosed and immediately cite them? No. But if you see a violation like a junk car, put them on the clock. The time goes by and they haven't removed it. And I need to know, because I look at the calendar, okay, when's the next, because the judge does code enforcement one day a month. And he's doing it when the county's code enforcement goes on, which makes sense to do. And I'll set it for a hearing like this last time. She gave me the paperwork, although I wasn't crazy about what I saw in the file. Nevertheless, so I immediately set it, and we got it
So
in
within
front of
60
the
days of the
judge.
first notice, you could be in court.
Yeah, or should be in court,
But the
60
problem-
days or less.
Excuse me, but the problem seems to be that they're being ignored.
That I can't speak to that because I'm not here.
You wouldn't
That's
see so many.
That's not my job.
Right,
Okay, when you give me something, I do my job,
yes,
but she's got to do her job,
that's right.
and she's got to do a better paper trail, and I told her this. And we need to make sure we're notifying the right people, the record owners, as to what's going on. Because this
Yeah,
case,
you're not gonna ride around behind her and say, no, you should have got.
No, I agree.
I'm not either.
I agree, and, and I understand what she's trying to accomplish, but obviously we're butting our heads against the wall because, we waste our 17 minutes of the meeting, every meeting, talking about the same stuff that could be,
Good point.
internally handled,
But-
and we're done with it.
But you've talked to her yourself.
I did.
Larry, have you talked to Colleen?
Yes.
And she understands what we're wanting.
Yes.
I mean, I'm okay with giving the first verbal, hey, Jake, can I use you for an example? Jake, you got a boat there or you got a car in your backyard. Okay, no problem. Because in some cases, they know that they're violating and there's an excuse for it. But when you've got Jake's been there for 3 months, we hadn't even started a paper trail. I mean, I've got enough business sense to know the paper trail is where it all begins. You can't terminate somebody anymore without a paper trail. You can't do nothing without a paper trail.
I defend code enforcement cases in Hendry County, Fort Myers Beach, Lee County. So trust me, I know the other side of it, and what I pull or try to pull. I'm not always successful when I pull it, but so I know that side of it. So that's why I was trying to tell her, just go by this format. And we keep it simple when we get it in front of the judge. Obviously, in Florida, there's an issue with homestead properties where you can't snatch the property because of constitutional limitations, so to speak. But I was actually working on a Lee County code enforcement case the other day, and in Lee County's code, I saw where they can, if it's a homestead property, they have an ordinance where you could reduce that to a monetary judgment and then enforce it as a monetary judgment as opposed to against the property. So I was like, you know what, that's probably a good, good little modification to our ordinance to stick in there, because I can get somebody's attention enforcing a money judgment probably a lot quicker than when you, especially if it's homestead property. But there's little nuances to it that we can
So
continue to build, but
I think what you're telling us and what I would like, we give one verbal, and then when time we go back number 2, the clock
it
starts.
should be a notice of violation. Or
Right.
if you've given the person a verbal before, they cleaned it up, but here we go again, then
Straight.
No,
notice-
then in that case.
That's a notice
no,
of
You're not
violation.
giving that verbal, the second verbal.
I
We're
agree.
going straight to,
but you gotta be hard nosed about it, because
Yeah, every time.
otherwise people take advantage,
exactly.
because that's just human nature and,
That's what happened.
you know.
And it's
so-
you got to be the same Clay today as you were yesterday. And you got to be same Clay tomorrow that you were today. And that's not always, you know, and unfortunately for Colleen, it's a thankless job,
Yeah,
but it has to be done. Because every one of us in this room has got a legitimate gripe. When you ride the streets of Moorhaven, every street has a code violation. Colleen or whoever the code enforcement is needs, in my mind, we're giving one verbal and then start the clock. That would be,
We're not unique in that. You take any of these towns around here, same thing too. You can go into every street and find violations.
and I won't
Yeah,
say where,
right.
but I've strung code enforcement cases out for 3 or 4 years in certain jurisdictions.
Well,
So
but-
I, it's
Yeah,
it's
but-
typical.
But you gotta
But-
stay on top of it.
you know, you mentioned LaBelle a while ago. And I hate to talk about another jurisdiction because I know that where this is going, this will be on the radio tomorrow. But I know in LaBelle, a yard in the city limits, that when I go by it at 6:15 in the morning, I can see it. I know their code enforcement has got to have seen it. Same thing, and God knows, I know another one that
It's everywhere. We're not.
a D6 could spend a week tearing down stuff, but yeah, but we're Moorhaven. We should be better. And we got to remember there's an element coming to Moorhaven that hasn't been here before, that this is something new to them. But this is our home. This is where we've grown up, or me and Brad and Alicia. Mark, unfortunately, we let you in. But we want this place to look nice. And Jake's got every gripe in the world. Miss Whitten has every gripe in the world. We want this to look better.
You don't think that
And-
one look better?
Well, of course, Mark.
Okay.
You know, don't take everything so little, brother.
Well, you
But-
put it out on me. I put it
No,
on you.
you know what I was trying to say. In our case, because this is our hometown,
Well,
we
I
should
like to
expect
look
more.
near around my house too.
Well, we can't have,
But we're only 1 square mile. We're not the city of LaBelle. We're not
Exactly.
the city of Close.
Right.
We're not the city of
Right.
LaBelle. We're 1 square mile.
right. And I think what has happened in Colleen, and in Colleen's case, I'm not justifying it by no means. Because I've known Jake for 20 years. Come on, Jake, get your stuff done. Or King, if you don't mind, do this. And it gets to be where I hate to say we're showing favoritism. That's not the word I'm using, but it's because it's who we are. It's a local deal. And it's not right.
If I
But-
can share a story with you, the greatest code enforcement story I had was a past code enforcement officer said, well, she came out to me. Is she gonna put a tag on the car or is she gonna be able to go to Clues and buy her medicine? So she could either buy her medicine or she could take care of a code enforcement violation. Well, human nature, you go get your medicine and we'll let that car sit there.
Right.
And that's what I believe you're speaking of
Yeah.
with Colleen on the human element of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's a good part.
it can
People are
only go
paid
so
for
far.
it.
But
They can
yeah,
also-
you're right, Jake. But at the same time, you're right too. Okay, Now, we've had to get medicine for 3 months now. At some point, I can't go to, in my mind, I can't go to you and say, all right, Jake, you got to clean your yard up. I understand you some medical issues, but Stacy, you need to clean your yard up now. This is the 7th time I've told you. At some point, you have to draw a line of where we're going, and you have to be fair. Stacy, I'm going to use you for an example. You can't arrest somebody based on, well, I want to this time. You're a drunk driver, but you're drunk, but you're my friend, so I'm going to let you go. No, because a good attorney is going to tear you up in court. It has to be the same today as it is tomorrow as it was yesterday. And sometimes it hurts who you do it to. And a lot of what I'm seeing, Jake, is not the locals, that what I call the locals, those of us that have been here. It's people coming in here that
A lot of the people that are collecting junk in the yards, they're all one group of friends. And I
Yep.
believe if you put the hammer on one of them, the word's gonna get spread.
But, and I don't think people understand that they hear us griping. They hear us on the radio bitching. They hear us in these meetings. They think we're just bitching to be bitching. The point is, you're bringing down my tax, my property value, your property value. So in a way, you're
Harm of the community.
exactly. And you don't want that. People come to Morehaven and they see some of this mess around here. They don't want to stay. I mean, the first thing in their mind is, why do I want to live here? You know, and that's not what we want as a council. And it's not what we want as, you know, those of us that have grown up here and those of us that were imported here. You know, so let's make it one verbal. 30 days later, or 10 days, or 15 days later, this clock starts. That's the only fair way to do it. And the list is getting longer. It's longer than it was. So, does anybody have anything for me? Discuss the financial statements if needed.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Motion by Alicia, seconded by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.